when I'm alone with my thoughts, sometimes disagree. Like which is me, just a simple freak or epiphany. This is the moment, listen and capture it visually. Chaos synergy where the prophets, sages and wizards be. I can't fail and I can't leave. Chemistry, what if I do it all what they said that I won't achieve? Nothing is what it seems. The regular program is steadily scheduling. Please take your seats in the mezzanine. You can cycle through it, listen, my lyrics are evergreen. I can't breathe. No, wait, don't make a scene. If I properly pronounced all these words in a scheme, would I finally be immersed in a dream? Purge the machine. Pop off trouble as kids in the rubble, shattered dreams. The children gon' wonder just what these verses mean. Every lie is American fabric, burst at the seams. What if I shut it all in bullet points and magazines? And you really don't know shit about struggles I'm battling. You don't know shit I was carrying versus fuck them all now it matters. I never heard back from my dad after like mad attempts. Took the trauma, turned it to a catalyst.
We're bringing that down. Don't cry for me. As you know, that's my new joint, and that's the intro to the show here. Thanks for being here. It is March 20th. It is How Billy Sees It. This is episode 124, and we are happy to have a guest that we've had on before and bring him back. He's all the way in another country doing his thing. Got him right after. Oh, let me bring him in. Jason Myles. I think we got him right after. We got him after happy hour.
Yeah, happy hour. Yeah, for the teetotaler, that I you know what? I've had one alcoholic beverage in 47 years of life.
Wow.
So wow. I don't drink.
So
I go out to bars like regular people, but
yeah. When you were out here, we went out to that bar. It was fantastic. I think you bought me a drink. You're such a gentleman. Actually, out here in DC, but I didn't know. I think I knew that you didn't drink at the time. I didn't know it was your whole life, though. That's impressive, actually. What drives you?
No. I grew up with a lot of abuse of drugs and alcohol. So if I could stay away from that, then I'm halfway to a decent life. I have vices. Definitely women is one of them. So I haven't been able to nip that in the bud.
Sure. Yeah. Not every vice needs to be nipped. You know what I mean? Like. Some vices need to be massaged and sort of organized.
Maybe that's what I'll say next time. It's just a massageable vice.
Who needs that shit, man? Who needs to nip everything? Thanks for being here, man. And I want to talk about a number of things, including your project that you released the first episode of Kayfabe. We're gonna get into that. But before we do, what is going on, Jason?
With what?
Generally. Just generally. I know that's an inadequate question.
Oh, man.
I know you need to.
No.
You in further. I mean, you're in
Yeah, I'm in a different country.
Exactly, you're in a different country. There's different stuff.
And we have our own issues here that definitely revolve around the United States and their issues and their policies that affect people equally as negatively as you can imagine. One thing that I've seen that's been very jarring for me is that to cross the border, it usually takes, depending on when you leave, right? It usually can take you anywhere from 3 to 6 hours going into the United States. So going from Mexico into the US, which is one of the reasons I hate people talk about open borders. But because of all the deportations that are happening, just people getting arrested and the way that they're getting deported, right? It's frightened a lot of people into not going to work. And not all labor that is brown is undocumented. Some people are waiting for their appointments. Some people actually do have paperwork to cross back and forth to work. And a lot of those people aren't going to work for fear of getting in trouble. So now that border wait time is a lot easier, but it's because people are literally frightened to go to work. So like that's really hard to watch. And that's one of the things that was the first thing that really slapped me in the face about the new administration.
Yeah.
The old administration was real hardcore with deportations as well, and not getting people through. So there's a large Haitian population here. There's a large indigenous Guatemalan population that's kind of stuck here. People that were trying to get to the States for asylum purposes that just ended up getting stuck here. So this idea that the border is just wide open and everybody was just running through, especially when the
Just
Biden
made up.
administration. Well, was there more immigrants during Biden's time trying to get through? Yes. Was there more deportations during Biden's time? Yes. So,
Well, trumped
I
up at
think
the very
it's,
least.
dude, he just deported a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's the bipartisan agenda, right? People forget that Bill Clinton built that wall. So,
Yeah.
to say that there's misinformation, to say that there's an over exaggeration, all that's happening, but while that's happening, there really is horrible things that are going on. This administration is trying to strip the state for everything it can. And me and my friend Ben Burgess that lives down here as well, we were joking that I guess you could say kind of gallows humor, that it feels like the end of the Soviet Union when the oligarchs were kind of pining for all the natural resources. And that's kind of what it feels like right now, especially with, Trump trying to get rid of the Department of Ed, which is a relatively new department. I think people forget that actually comes to be during the Carter administration. And while some people may be kind of flippant over some of these changes, because so much stuff is getting blocked up in the courts.
Yeah.
This is still, not good.
Yeah.
and very frightening. So what's going on right now? I think it's a weird time because what this administration is doing in 2025 is what people thought it was going to do in 2016. So we're literally seeing the worst of the worst. And what's interesting to me about that is 2016, 2017, pretty much through 2021, let's say, everybody's like super politically engaged because Obama's gone, right? And even if you didn't like him, for a lot of Americans, there was a feeling of comfort with that administration.
He was consistent. He
And
played the leader
hits,
well,
the
right?
political
He was
hits,
smooth and
sure.
measured.
He did all the horrible things
Yeah.
that bad leaders do. But there was a comfort people felt in things getting done. And Trump in office shakes that up. And also he kind of ignites a certain kind of nationalism.
Yeah.
And a certain kind of racism.
Yeah.
Even if he himself, I don't think, embodies any of those ideologies purely, just because he doesn't really have an ideology.
He doesn't.
I don't know what it is. I don't think he does.
This is what I think in terms of the question of like what the fuck is going on. Like, okay, so yes, Mexico and Canada, we share this plot of land called the Americas. We have quite a few things are, societies are intermeshed and interwoven. Now, in the Trump administration, though, what makes me crazy about how what the fuck is going on? He's driven. He's a media character. The whole cabinet, these are all billionaire influencers who have really navigated. They're not just like creators of businesses or whatever. They also made themselves popular figures. Elon, obviously, right? So like what he's doing to me, these are all just high profile, attention seeking, media grabbing. He wants to show promises made, promises kept, hardline stuff. And it's not driven by a true analysis of like, trends of migration or the economic results of what this means. It is the most aggressive right wing thing he can do. That he's like, look, I'm a get it done kind of motherfucker. That's how I see it, and it just creates all this harm that harms millions of people in very interesting ways, and it's all very flippant and for the cameras, which takes us to kayfabe. But tell me what you think of that.
Yeah, I have a friend that works in medical research, and she was telling me recently that there was a big funding freeze on a project they had been working on for years as soon as the Musk Trump thing got in office, and that became problematic. Um, so I think the people that are either like overly dismissive they're not affected per
Yeah.
se by these changes or these potential changes that could go through. So either you're just anti-Trump to be anti-Trump and maybe you're just shouting off at the mouth, or you're kind of doing this thing that I've seen people do in online spaces. Granted, I've never seen anyone say this in real life, but this is what you get for voting for that guy. There's real stories that have come out about people that voted for Trump who they were married
Regret it.
to an undocumented immigrant, or they were again working on getting the paperwork for their spouse.
Yeah.
Their spouse got deported. Like, that's a real story that's happening. And there's kind of a, well, what did you think? Almost Schadenfreude kind of response, which I don't think is the right response,
Yeah.
because this is more so than 2016, a moment where maybe we can, if you're a real, leftist, you can galvanize these feelings of contempt into a movement. But I think more people, and the numbers show this for who came out to vote, are just disconnected from the political machine altogether. Because if you really got involved in these few things, but if you got involved during Trump's first term to try to not vote him in, or even if you try to vote him in, I'm sure there were things that happened that made you go, well, this, administration sucked. I didn't get anything out of it. Then there's the 2018 midterm election, where you get kind of a rise of social democrats that are running on the Bernie Sanders platform, I call it, which is kind of this platform of public goods governance, return to New Deal Keynesianism. So, more government largesse. We want Medicare for all and free college tuition and forgiveness of student debt.
You would use largesse there?
Say again?
You would use the word largesse there?
Yeah, you're going to need more government to make these things happen, not less.
For sure.
I don't know if I think that rubs certain people the wrong way, because the Trump administration and even Musk to a certain degree run on, and I think Musk is going to be the thing that torpedoes any goodwill that he was able to gain in this return to office. Torpedoing so many programs that affect regular people in the name of efficiency doesn't work the way you think it's going to work when it's affecting real people's lives,
real families.
But what people wanted when they wanted the trimming of the fat of government, they wanted shorter lines at the DMV. They don't want to deal with, parking tickets the same way. So that massive disconnect between what people really want and what we're going to do, and just the fact that I don't think these people care. These are the people that privatize ports and municipal parking spaces. So to them, the public good is just room for roughshod over public spaces and go full hog on privatization. So for kayfabe, sorry to ramble, but where kayfabe comes in, and really what was the impetus of the project was me, being tuned in. I do a show, I write about these issues, and I was watching this series on Vice called The Dark Side of the Ring, which is a deeper dive into wrestling. And one thing that I had kind of, it was and I'm not the first person to say this, Donald Trump really does talk like a pro wrestler. And these promises are all kind of wrestling promises, right? Like, he talked a lot of stuff. He talked about lowering the prices of eggs, but nothing that he said or done has been about lowering any sort of everyday costs for regular Americans. This isn't about inflation. This is about proving that he could be right to what he thinks is his base.
Yes.
And he sees his base as kind of the more fervent parts of it.
Yeah.
So the racist. So look, you people hate the Browns And this is where it gets difficult for, I think, a lot of people that call themselves leftists or even liberals, is there's a lot of brown people that don't like brown people.
Yeah.
They are for snatching people up, because it is one of those, well, I'm a good person, get the bad ones out. And to have that level of support for something until it's enacted, and
Until it
now you're
affects you.
seeing, well, when you're going, I'm not just going to send you to Guantanamo, somewhere where we decided that maybe we shouldn't send people anymore. We're going to send you somewhere like El Salvador, that's known for having one of the worst prison systems possibly in the world. And we want to send you there. So there's a lot going on, and it's not just the return of Trump. It's, you look at a place like the Philippines, they have their own kind of return of Trump in the form of Bongbong Marcos, who's Ferdinand Marcos's son, is in office. And their last president, Rodrigo Duterte, who, they're trying to take him to The Hague for crimes against humanity because of the drug killings that were going on in that country while he was in office, because his whole thing was, if you do a crime and it's drug related, you're a criminal and you should die, and we will paint the streets red with your blood. I don't care. I think 33,000 people they put on his hands that were murdered, by either law enforcement or other people, in the name of protecting the citizens. And it's really a war on poor people. Jair Bolsonaro, was able to win in Brazil. There's a lot of leaders that have these kind of far right leanings throughout the world. We're not seeing any sort of pink tide or red resurgence globally. If anything, we're seeing maybe more conservative administrations on a global scale. So to see what's happening at home shouldn't be so shocking, especially when, you live in a major metropolitan area. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area. I remember the 90s very well. It was a violent time. The 80s and 90s were a violent time. We can't act like it wasn't. This time we're living in right now is nowhere near as violent as the 80s and 90s, yet we're seeing a return to tough on crime rhetoric. And I think a lot of that does have to do with kind of this political theater that we see drawn out every night on the nightly news, and how characters like Trump really play into that. And to some degree, even the previous administration played into it as well. We see a lot of acting for the camera, from kneeling in kente cloth to, arresting. I just read in the news that a professional, I think it was a volleyball player, a soccer player that's Venezuelan, got arrested, deported. They were in the States and sent to El Salvador.
Because
Venezuela's presidents, because they could, right? So there's this weird game that's going on, and there's some people that are like so disconnected from the realpolitik, right? From what's really going on the ground.
Yeah.
That they're invested into the drama of this stuff. And that's scary, because what happens when, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. But I want to know what happens. So we're going to follow that. But it's the framing. It's the people telling the story. You know what I mean? It's like, who do you go to tell this complex story of the global events, everything happening in the world? Who's picking the words that focuses in on a particular plot of land and a particular government, and who gives us the framing of the political arrangement and gives us the full story about the money and the real politics, whatever you want to, the psychology of it, for the most part, we don't get that. We get heroes and villains, right? We get faces and we get heels. And we get storylines. So, I mean, my introduction to, honestly, I didn't grow up with WWE too much. I got introduced to it as an adult with a roommate I had who was a WWE fanatic, and this is someone who I,
Mhm.
Anyway, what do you think? His character was oh man, Stone Cold. Stone Cold.
Okay, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
So
Yeah.
if I tell you Stone Cold, what does that tell you about the personality of the person? The Stone Cold Steve Austin fan. Who is that?
Who is that
Yeah.
guy?
Who is
I
that
don't
guy?
know, man. I don't want to pass judgment on people that watch wrestling. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I didn't watch my fair share of wrestling. I
Yeah, of
don't
course you
watch
did.
the new stuff now because it's like soap opera. If you watch a soap opera and it's your soap opera and you
It was
stop
always a
watching it,
soap opera. What are you talking
if
about?
that's the thing that people don't understand about wrestling. I've heard people say like so and so is a horrible wrestler and they're not a very good wrestler. It's like if you say that, you're telling me you don't know wrestling because it's
Mm.
never been about how acrobatic you are
Mhm.
or how good you pull the moves off. It's what is your storyline?
Yeah.
Can you sell it? And can you create drama in the ring? And
Yeah.
that's what matters. That's how you get to be the champion wrestler.
It's awesome.
Because if the champion wrestler was really about like wrestling ability, then it'd be like little dudes that do flips all the time.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
wants to see a little dude doing flips all the time. They want to see a big cat
You want to
that's
see at
got a
least
big
one dude.
mouth,
Yeah.
right? And they have to have a way that they talk. And
Yeah.
Steve Austin's kind of perfect, right? Because he's got that southern drawl. He leaned into it way heavier when
Yeah.
he was Stone Cold because he was stunning Steve Austin
That's
at
right.
first. And he had
Yeah.
hair. He was a very different wrestler. But kind of leaning into all these things that people can that are familiar to people. Like I'll make it political for people that might be going, disassociating because we're talking about wrestling. Think of Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. The two things those guys have going for them is an idea around authenticity, cultural authenticity.
Mm.
They're both New Yorkers. They both have accents from where they're from. Trump has this Queens thing going on, even though he's an elite. And Bernie Sanders has the Brooklyn thing that is so hard, Brooklyn Jewish guy,
What are you doing?
right?
Bernie
And so,
Sanders.
right, they do that thing,
Yeah.
and there's this air of authenticity when they speak, and you want to listen. If Bernie Sanders sounded like Gavin Newsom,
Mm.
even if he's saying the exact same things, are you listening the same way?
Yeah.
So,
Or no.
playing up the authenticity card really works for those cats. They're also both older, so there's this air of experience and knowledge, just in age. We kind of give older people this kind of, well, they've lived a life, so they should know some things. So there's a lot that goes into their characters, so to speak. They both do this thing that starts to me in the 90s with wrestling and also in television as well, where they kind of break a fourth wall of letting you know how the sausage is really made. Bernie Sanders was talking about the costs involved with healthcare with the private system.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump was saying things like, I'm going to drain the swamp, and I know how because I pay
I am
these
the
people
swamp.
off. I am pretty much, right? He goes like, I know these people because I deal with them.
Yeah.
And so that's a moment
So
where
ridiculous.
it's breaking a fourth wall, if you will. It's kind of like the talk shows of the 90s. So if anyone remembers Maury Povich or something like that, where it's like, Lamar, you are not the dad. And then the dude is jumping up and down and the chick runs around the corner, right?
Yeah.
But when that chick runs around the corner, what does Maury do? He goes with microphone on.
Yep.
Lavandaria, we're so sorry that this happened to you. And we're going to bring back every dude in an 8-block radius to see who skeeted in there to make sure that we find the dad.
And
it's
it wasn't
those
me.
moments.
I ain't the daddy. I ain't you. It wasn't me. I told you, bitch. I told you. That was some terrible stuff, yo. But it was also very fucking entertaining.
But that's where we are right now in the political arena. Even if you think about shows from the 90s that were political that might be a little more radio-esque, i.e. Bill O'Reilly, there was still, and I'm not saying Bill O'Reilly's a good dude, he really fucking sucked. Yeah. But there was still an air of a slight air, or maybe an illusion of professionalism, even with Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
Now, in the internet world and the podcast sphere, a lot of that stuff is gone by the wayside. But there's a reason why some of these people that have that air of professionalism on their bullshit are still some of the larger like podcasts in America. Like if you look at the top 3 or 4. Rogan's definitely there and Theo Von are there, but those are kind of these comedian cultural icons you kind of have to put to the side because their whole thing is they are neither left nor right. They are neither Democrat nor Republican, and they're apolitical, even though they're not.
Right.
So we'll put those people aside. But then after that, what do you have? You have Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
Then you have like right-wing military guys, and then I think maybe 5 or 6 down the list, you have like NPR.
Yeah.
But our space is kind of dominated by conservative voices, regardless of how they're cloaked. And if you watch the news, then my God,
you shouldn't.
I mean, the things that people just say randomly that aren't true, and no one's even trying to fact check it anymore because it's just like, well, this is an opinion show, and so we don't have to fact check an opinion show. So it's like, all right, well, that's where we are.
It's whatever you want. I mean, this to me, it speaks to the power of narrative and self-definition. I want to learn lessons from Rogan, from some of these other characters, even people I think I have great disdain for, like a Ben Shapiro. I want to learn from their capacity to just kind of apply language however they want. They determine themselves. Sometimes when it's beneficial, they'll lean into the journalistic stuff and get the benefits of the First Amendment and those kinds of protections. And then over here, they're also, pushing all kinds of things. Now, I want to do it with a certain degree of my own integrity and my own authenticity. I don't want to be sold off and, like some of these clowns. But the process needs to be, I want to engage with like everyone's ability and encourage everybody to like do what you're doing, Jason. Do what I'm doing. I try to embody this thing that I think is needed, where we're just having genuine ass conversations and we're really trying to figure out what that means and try not to lie to ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
try not to be right all the time.
Try not to
That's the hard part, right?
Yeah. Try not
but you
to
have to
flatter
listen.
yourself,
But dude, that's the thing. Like you have to listen to try not to be right. Like I have a show where I don't call it content creation. Because if it's content creation, then I'm just a billboard. I'm kind of generic at that point. I'll do anything for you to look at me. I actually put together a show. I do research. I book guests that I find interesting. I write a very long introduction and a series of questions and talking points. Most of the time I keep a notebook next to me. If the thing, I wouldn't say goes off the rails, but if maybe a question that I have prepared, they answered it in a way that I wasn't expecting. So I have notes that I'm taking. So I'm trying to engage their project, which generally is either an article or more likely a book or something. So it's not about me and how smart I need to sound. And that becomes a problem in an era where the male gaze has turned on itself. There's a reason why, young kids are shooting. I just wrote an article for Damage magazine that's coming out next month in their print edition about young men and steroid use. So
it's on the rise. What's up with it?
Oh my God. Yeah. It's insane. There's young influencers that are in their early 20s and they need TRT replacement, which is testosterone therapy replacement, because they can't produce their own testosterone, because at a very young age they were abusing steroids like Anavar and Trenbolone. So their growth is stunted. It's insane, but that has a lot to do with, I think, the moment that we live in, where these young people have grown up in an environment that you or I can't really fathom. Like from the moment their inception happens, from the moment they're conceived, they are put on display for people that they will never meet to judge them. How many sonogram photographs have you seen in your lifetime on social media? That means that kid from the sonogram.
That's why I conceived. Right? I was like, well, tell me more about this conceived thing. But
now I get what you're coming at. Right there, you're on. And then go, if your parents are still around, God bless you if they are. And this goes out to anyone paying attention to what we're saying. I'm 47, so if you're my age or maybe a little bit younger, you probably grew up in an era of cameras.
Yeah.
There's probably not a lot of pictures of
Polaroids,
you as a
bro.
young person, right? So there's pictures of you, they're very candid.
Yeah.
They're at a birthday party. There's a function that was going on. There's probably not too many pictures. There's always going to be pictures of you randomly.
Yeah.
There's not too many of those pictures. There was a reason why that camera came out,
Yeah.
because there was a price to pay for that moment to be captured as a photograph.
Yeah.
Now, everything you do is being documented and then uploaded for, again, people that you don't know to like and judge you.
Yeah. That's
So
crazy.
how does that affect that generation that has spent their entire lifetime under the microscope? If everyone's the Truman Show, and now you know you're the Truman Show, it changes behaviors, right? There's tutorials on for young girls on how to like sip their latte and look cute at all time.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's
and the boys have their own thing too, obviously, right?
They have their totally own thing,
and
that's
it's equally
the whole
silly.
thing about that's the whole thing about like steroid abuse at a young age. You're 13, 14 years old, and you say, I'm doing the Trend Challenge, which is taking a very, very powerful steroid called Trenbolone. It means that you can get larger in 30 to 90 days. You'll put on serious muscle. And for the article, I did have to watch a lot of disturbing videos of young people using steroids. One thing I saw was a bunch of 18-year-old guys that were not very large. Now, mind you, everyone that's doing this isn't trying to go pro. And one of the questions I asked was, are you losing hair? 18. And the guy was like, he had a hat on. He's like, oh, yeah. And then the host goes, well, take your hat off. He goes, no, man, I can't take my hat off. And it's like, you're willing to lose hair
at 18
over gains. But again, we have to think about the moment we're in, because there's always been instant gratification in every generation. Absolutely. There's been some advancement, right? Drive-throughs were a bit of an advancement. The ATM is a bit of an advancement. But it's different now. I can satisfy every urge, humanly possible, with my phone.
Yeah.
So now you're really living your life in an online space. Even video games. I'm still old enough to remember there was home video game systems when I was young, but it wasn't that good. And it wasn't. It's a different game. And still we would go to arcades. It's like, dude, let's go to the arcade. And you'd meet other people playing Street Fighter, right? You put your quarter up and you think you're the baddest Street Fighter dude, and some other cat from another side of town kicks your ass, and maybe you become friends or enemies, whatever it is, but you're still engaging with someone in real time, and maybe you make a real friendship with that. The online space is a little different. I'm not saying that you can't have community within video games, because you of course can. But it's a little different, just physically. Like, I don't have to leave my house. I don't have to leave my bedroom. I have piss bottles in my room because I'm not getting up to go pee.
Too far there, but I know that exists.
That's a real thing. That's a real thing.
That is.
I have not played a video game since the year of our Lord, 2006.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't want a piss bottle in my room.
Come on, man.
I don't want to. You have a piss bottle in your room?
No piss bottles, thank God. If it ever comes to that, like, pull me away, like, immediately. But no, man, I stopped playing video games for a long time. I told myself that, like, it was a waste of time. I told myself a story that it's a waste of time, and it can be that. It can be that. And then I gotta tell you, bro, like, after being married with Sheba and like certain things in the career, moving around, trying to figure out stuff, it was definitely a waste of time in my mind. And I'm not gonna, And then one day Sheba was like, yo, you never play that video game. And then it hit me that I don't have to define it as a waste of time. Like, I can do a couple hours on this motherfucker. So for me, Overwatch 2 is the one video game I play. It's a nutty game that it's kind of like the game I dreamed that there would have been when I was a kid, Literally, it's a hero shooter where, like, the incentives are just right, where if I've got a team of 5 other guys and, like, we want to win. Like, I used to play with my brothers, and one of my brothers in particular, like, I'd be trying to win, and he would like fuck up, and he'd jump off the roof on purpose and shit like that, and piss me off. I'm like, yo, we gotta win. Anyway, so Overwatch 2 works like that, and I've actually met 3 people from Overwatch 2. So, it's a bit of a tangent, but I get exactly what you're saying with the realm of all this stuff is completely different. We have the cost of doing anything, the cost of the camera, the cost of the setup, the cost of distributing, and it's not just the pictures, but I did a whole episode about words where, words, to share the words that I have in my head, I used to have to know how to write. I used to have a fucking ink and a paper, or if it's movable type, that shit. And now we just and we get to text so fast that now we don't even fucking spell our stuff anymore. We're using the acronyms, and the cost of everything is so accessible to us, and we don't even feel it. We're like living like gods, like king god children, people who have all of this stuff. And it's a shocking thing when you can actually sit and kind of appreciate it, even in the context of all this weird, problematic stuff in the world.
I mean, look, we're talking right now on opposite coasts in different countries, and that's pretty badass. And before that, we were messaging each other back and forth in a way that would have taken us at least a week to get one letter over. If phone conversations would have cost, a lot of money.
Yes.
So with these advancements in technology, I do feel like there's pluses. The minuses are these advancements are happening kind of within capitalism. I shouldn't say kind of, they're happening within capitalism.
Yeah.
So we have to think about what is the new monetizable thing? And it's our eyeballs, it's our attention. And in the attention economy, a lot of people take that for granted because they think that they're not being affected by the attention economy, which is why I wrote that steroids piece. Of course, you're being affected by the attention economy because you have a generation of young people that all they know is the attention economy.
Yeah.
All we really know right now is Temu and Amazon. When was the last time you went to the mall to go buy something? Mm-hmm. I live in a country with a Radio Shack. And to a lot of people that don't remember Radio Shack, that might seem like whatever to you, but that's where you got, I'm a musician that has to fix his own stuff.
Yeah.
I do a podcast and I need to get little parts of things that most people are going to get on Amazon. You need to get an adapter for this thing. You're going to order it on Amazon. I can go right down to the Radio Shack and get the same thing and spend about the same amount of money.
Wait, you still got a Radio Shack around you?
I have a Radio Shack. It's still a chain here in Mexico. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay.
It's a game changer for doing this kind of stuff, right? Because that's where I got this. I have a setup for. It takes a while for me to fire up my computer in my room where I do the show. So I was like, I'm late for Billy, so let me get my. I'd usually sit outside, but where the sun is, I would have been overblown. You wouldn't have saw me,
right?
But because I have this really nice terrace.
Yeah, you didn't want to give me the view.
Oh yeah, you can't really. Yeah, you can't really see the sun. Yeah. No, it's a beautiful. Like I said, it's a beautiful day. I have a view of the ocean. So I usually try to do my interviews out there where I can actually enjoy this place I live. And I got this for like $5,
nice.
and some cheap little in-ears. But
sounds great.
You'd have to order those things before, and now I get to go to a place and practice my really bad Spanish, talking to the people at the Radio Shack that recognize me, and walk around the little area where it is and talk to those people as well. So I get to be a part of my community, just going to get little BS for the job, and I'm not so stuck in this thing where I'm going to see more things that I think I need. Right? When you bought something on Amazon, you're going to get more ads.
Yes.
They might even be messaging you. Like I bought one thing on Temu and they text the shit out.
Yeah. You were saying it. Was that the STD spray that fucking remember that? Like, you know what to do with this. What was the tagline on that motherfucker? Yeah.
Like, I think it said you know what to do with this. And I'm like, what do these two things have to do with each other? But but that's the economy that we're a part of.
It is, and the way I like to think about it is like the kids are growing up with a whole other interface that we didn't deal with. When you're saying about the real life stuff, meeting someone in real life, whatever we call real life, even like kids growing up now will be calling this thing we call online life. It's a version of real life, and but it comes with another layer of interface of likes and follows. You know, you go in the past, I would meet you in person and I might make a bunch of assessments about this. Oh, look at this handsome bald head motherfucker Jason over there. But if on the profile, additionally, I'm like, oh, how many followers? I get a sense of who I think you are, you know. And look at these pictures, but it's all, or can be, most of it is superficial, you know.
Think about dating. We were talking about this the other day. Think about dating in this modern era. It just kind of will go through any generational gap. As a person that's 47 and single, I have spent some time on the dating apps. I'm not on them now. I have spent time on them. Mm-hmm. So this is coming from experience, right? Mm-hmm. You match with someone already, you know the dating pictures are going to be the best pictures that you have, right? We all know that. But maybe you guys share social, you match with someone, you have a conversation, and you're like, oh, this is my Instagram or whatever. Your Instagram and your social media really is your PR arm.
Yeah.
And I don't think people think of it that way.
Yeah.
So now people are fixated on the best aspects of you. And there could be a lot of projection, especially in the way people date. And another thing that I see that's becoming real popular is the interview style of dating that you see in things like those balloon pop shows that I love, probably to a fault.
I'm a fan of that shit too, reasons. Man. I think there's a ton of different versions of them, and some of them are wild. But
the hood ones
are fucking crazy. I mean, like, sometimes I feel bad. Like, I feel like, you ever feel bad after you masturbate? You ever feel bad? Like, what did I do? I feel like that if I watch one of those shows, I go, like, or not the show. I watch like even a 15-second clip, and the girl comes out and she immediately like, do a 360, and they immediately talk about some wild shit, and I'm like, damn, why did I watch that whole fucking clip?
There was one. Oh man, there's a bunch, but. Why'd you pop your balloon? And it's like, I didn't like his or her.
Oh no. We lost Jason. Oh, there he is. Hold on. Jason, we almost lost you, or we did lose you. Welcome back.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now. Okay, so I heard you say.
That was so weird.
I heard you say, why'd you pop your balloon? And then you just cut off.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, why'd you pop your balloon? It's like, oh, because it's his or her hair or their outfit or, you know, these kind of trivial things. And then they'll say things like, I want to know about you. They'll try to act like they're deep. It's like, well, what are you going to know about me in this very uncomfortable setting, first of all?
Right.
And it's one person versus 10 others.
Yeah.
So everyone's firing things at each other. If one person pops another person's balloon and says something that might be kind of rude, then that person snaps back equally as rude.
Yeah.
So you're really not getting anything authentic from these shows. Because again, it's a job interview that is like the most hood fucking job interview I've ever seen. Right. Where it's like there was one where a woman that was attractive, she's a dark-skinned black woman, she's thick.
Yeah.
Not big, she was thick. And they're all the dudes are sitting there unpopped balloons. But she had a very deep voice. And she was like, hello.
Balloon gunshots. Yeah.
And the host was like, yeah, it was balloon gunshots. Yeah. And the host was like, oh. And so she goes, oh, I knew this was going to happen because of my voice. And the dudes were really thinking, oh, this is a man.
Wow, yeah.
And it was not. She was a woman with a very deep voice.
Yeah.
But the fact that they were like, I'm not going to give you the time of day to explain yourself. I don't want to get to know you.
Yeah.
F right off, lady.
It's a strange environment. Yeah.
The real world doesn't necessarily work like that.
It shouldn't work like that. I'm really hopeful that we don't get to.
You know why it doesn't work like that?
Yeah.
You know why? Because not everybody's recording everybody at every second of the day. There's a lot of that. But if that chick walks by and you see her at the wherever you see her at the bar, wherever.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, and she's like, hi, and you're like, you're gonna talk for a while.
Yes.
You're not
Hopefully.
gonna just up and leave. You're not
Yeah.
gonna. There's no dude. Look, man, this is probably gonna sound horrible to your listeners, and I will preface this by saying
Yeah.
these are the feelings and thoughts of Jason Myles, not Billy Bunton.
Let's hear it.
When an ass is that fat, most dudes will sit there
They
for a
will
while.
figure it out.
They
Yeah.
will have a gun. They will
Yeah,
figure it
they'll
out.
figure it out. Yeah.
They're not gonna run. They're not gonna run away like they will when the camera's on them. So there's already in a lot of these shows, that's really not the authentic experience. There's nothing real you're gonna see. There was a show that I saw. I don't know if you saw this, and it blew. It I wouldn't say it blew my mind, but it really made me want to have a conversation about it. And it was a show where the two people are blindfolded and they're having a conversation, and there's a button in front of them. And if they hit the button, it means the date is over.
Mm-hmm.
So they're talking, and they're getting along, and they wanted to kiss, but they're still blindfolded.
Yeah.
And it was a kind of a pretty, they were both well put together, but the young lady was a little bigger.
Okay.
And so the dude goes in to kiss her, and he kisses her, and he is enjoying this. I think they even like grabbed her hand to hold her hand.
Yeah.
So he feels the chubbiness of that hand. He knew what he was kissing.
Okay.
And so he sits down, and as he sits down, he goes, "Oh boy, I hope you like what you see with me. You're going to run away when you see me." He takes his mask off. She takes her mask off. His face doesn't change.
Okay.
He doesn't go like, ugh. He's just like, like his face looked like mine would have been.
Yeah.
I know what I did, and I'm here to go to Pound Town, right? That's where we're trying to go with this.
What's happening.
I think I feel like we're on our way there, and maybe a relationship blossoms out of this. I don't know, but I'm going to stay on this train.
Yes.
So he's like this. He's like this, right? Like, I'm in.
Yeah.
That's the face, and you know the face.
Yeah, he's keeping
You're
it
married.
solid. He's solid.
You made that face at one point. You met your wife and was like, "I'm in."
I love it. Let's get it. Sign me up.
The girl takes off her mask and she goes, "Oh my God, you're gorgeous." And the dude's kind of like, "All right, if that's what you're cool,
I'll take it."
Now I know I'm in. Like, let's blow this joint. Let's go. She hits the buzzer and ends the date.
Interesting.
And she's like, because she goes, before she does it, she does ask one question, or someone asks a question. They say, "Does she like women you normally date?" And he goes, "No." And he was going to say more, and she hit the thing. And he was like, "What?" Because maybe you aren't like who he normally goes after, but there was a genuine connection, and he likes you.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a piece of crap and he just wants to have sex with you.
Yeah.
You're never going to know until you actually follow through.
The conversation going, yeah.
But
she didn't want to.
There's a lot going on there. This is on the internet.
Yeah.
Who wants to feel like a joke? Like, seriously.
Yeah.
She was a bigger girl. When she took the mask off, it's like, I know what this is. This is a joke for you people. You got this pretty boy here and me, but you don't know his story. Maybe he wasn't always a pretty boy. Maybe he lost a bunch of weight and got a haircut.
Exactly.
80s movies are real.
Yeah.
So who knows? Who knows his
yeah.
story? You'll never know his story.
Exactly.
When you're, but again, I understand that kind of protection that one would do, because I think someone a little older might try to see that through.
Yeah.
Because you're not as cognizant of the fact that you're going to be a joke or a meme online, and maybe you just don't care. And when you have so much of a value put on your kind of your online avatar, which is you as a real person, right? It's not even an avatar, it's your real person. But when you have that much of a value that you put on the fact that I don't want to be the fat girl that's going to be shamed on this very popular site, so let me end this before this guy can say something very rude about me.
Yeah.
Which again, just judging off the dude's mannerisms, judging off the way the dude was acting,
It was gonna go. It was gonna be all right.
It seemed like he was going down. It seemed like he
Yeah.
was enjoying the young lady. He was enjoying the company, and you know, he wanted to see where it was going to go. But again, he could have been a horrible piece of shit and was like, "Oh, I'm just going to do this for the camera."
Yeah.
I don't know his intentions either, but the whole thing, the way it was framed, was kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, it's like, imagine living that fearful of not the rejection from the guy,
Yeah.
because he already said,
He's in.
I'm in.
Yeah.
It's the rejection of the outside world, that people you will never know.
Did she get to
Not
explain?
your coworkers. She said it. She was like, "Nah, I'm not doing this."
Yeah.
And that's all she really had to say, man. That's all the poor girl had to say.
No, yeah. The human relationship is strange, yo. The human relationship is strange. I've talked about this on a number of my episodes. I do some episodes about dating and like little situations with people. This one girl I met online who feminine in all her pictures, but she happened to be a basketball player, and I met her in person. Okay. I got to see her laugh. Like at first she started performing the most feminine thing I've ever seen, but you know, at one point she became chill. We became friends and cool, and I got to see past that little performance, and she let out this masculine big laugh, and and I had to admit, you know, this is over 12 years ago, I was turned off. I projected a whole bunch of stuff onto her about her that I did not know, and I had to when I say turned off, I mean that I concluded that she wasn't someone that I should be trying to have sex with, you know, or be trying to date. And then but then the thing went on, and I got to like relax that. And the whole argument, the whole point of that whole episode was to like have us relax these projections and these categories. We immediately want to, you're this, I'm that. Ooh, wait a second. And let us actually get to see each other. So yeah, some of these online things won't let us do that, because I mean, the platform won't. One of the things I was going to ask, even in the format that you set up, I was wondering if you hit the end of date thing, do you get another one? Because if you do, then you even have this incentive to see more. You know what I mean?
It looked like it was just over, and then they bring in new people.
Okay.
So it was a little different. I mean, that is what you're talking about. To me, is modern day dating, right? It's like, I've met women when I was dating through an app where I thought there was a legitimate connection, and I might have just been the Tuesday hookup.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a hard thing to me, that was harder for me to wrap my head around. That and I think this is why you get things like the manosphere really blow up, because dating apps have gamed things for women
that was supposed to be only for men, yeah.
Right,
level,
for
right?
years, right?
Yeah.
It's been a man's world, but now women have all the odds in their favor, and it's not necessarily good for them either. Like the number one thing that I would see in response or in people's profiles was like, "Don't tell me I'm beautiful. Don't ask me how my day is. I don't, you know, I want to get to know you." It's like, well, how are you going to get to know me? I don't match with a million people at once, because most dudes are just like, yeah, and they're not trying to be, because if you try to be selective, you're going to sit there and nothing's going to happen. There was this guy, he showed that he had swiped 1.2 million times.
Jesus.
And he had a couple hundred, over like a 3-year period, a couple 100,000 matches. Through those matches, he only had like a couple hundred conversations. Through those conversations, he had one date.
One date. Wow.
So
that's weird. That's a low number.
You know, and there's a lot of different things that go into that. But the point of that is to say that it's just gamed a little different.
It is.
And I just don't necessarily, and I don't not dig it just because it's in a woman's favor. Like, that's not how I think I don't dig it, because it actually kind of adds to the disposability of humans, for whoever it is, for men and women. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't, you know, not responded to someone for the most trivial of reasons. But there is something about like the gamification of relationships now, where
It's like everything
There's no
else.
side quest. Yeah, it's like everything else, right? You're completing the mission, and especially if it's an interview process with your texting back and forth to the, we're going to meet up at the thing. Then there's rules about that vary. I've had one woman tell me, I don't do coffee dates, because if you go on a coffee date with a dude, that's how you know he's broke.
Wow. Really? Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
All these
sure,
different
there's a lot of
weird
truth to that.
rules and all these weird, but you know what I'm saying? Like all these
Yeah.
assessments of, okay, if she's looking at the coffee date, then she's also looking at, shoes and cars. She's trying to assess all these things, perhaps. And then we do that. We feel that we need to do that. So that's why the
Yeah.
dudes have their hang-ups, and dudes want to,
High value
high
woman.
value
Yeah.
this and that,
Yeah.
high value themselves. They're hung up on their own judgment and, insecurity about, how they present. And then there's a whole YouTube, market for that with these pranks, right? With these, like, showing these girls who won't talk to a guy first, and then he walks to his car, and then she turns around, and they pretend to it. Have you seen these?
I've seen some of those that I don't think are real.
So some of them are definitely not real, and then
Yeah.
some at least have the semblance of potentially being real. And
Well, because that's trying to say that women are pieces of shit that are
that's the goal.
that are materialistic, and that's all
Yeah.
they want. And it's like, look, dude, I'm not a woman, and I don't want to fuck a dude. But if a dude got out of some really cool fucking car, if a dude got out of like Knight Rider, from the kit from Knight Rider, like, oh, dude, is that guy in Knight Rider?
Michael.
Yeah. Look at that. That's pretty cool. And I'd watch him get in the car. I'd watch him drive away. Like, oh, that's pretty badass.
Jason,
Like,
watch out. Oh, yeah.
Like, how awesome would that be?
But here's the thing too. They set up the
Yeah.
camera for like 24 hours. I mean, they walk up to 30 different girls. You're gonna get like 4 of them who are gonna be like, at least 4 of them who are gonna be interested. Plus they go up with this corny kind of weird shit, and then they walk to the car. So, but it creates all these anxieties for us. This is what I'm saying. Like, everything from the the WWE, if you think it's real, you might actually take on the anxiety of The Rock, and you want to support him when he's trying to fight. If you think the news is real, you take on the anxiety of Chuck Schumer trying to figure out whatever. And the same with this stuff, with the dating stuff, like with the words in the video, like the price of being able to show our shit is so low, we can just sprout off whatever. And that's why I've done 2 episodes on authenticity, and maybe we close out with this, the question of authenticity.
Ooh. Yeah.
I think authenticity is gonna be, or is, major key in the realm, in this moment of AI, of fake news, of everybody having their own podcast and their own thing. Like, it's a hard question, but it ties it all in together, that going forward, our incentives are for me to, like, when I learn more about Jason, and hopefully when you learn more about me and you realize less and less of like the facade of all the things that we present, that we just keep accepting each other. We give each other the courage to show more of ourselves. That's why I try to like show some of my less, I try not to be too fucking polished out here, because I'm trying to like demonstrate what I think is necessary, which is like
the real you. What is
that?
Yeah. Okay, here and I can't answer that question because I'm still struggling with the answer. And I think when we talked, and I am still working on this thing about authenticity, but everything has taken a back seat. Everything's taken a back seat for me in my creative life for kayfabe and some things that I have to write. But in working out this authenticity thing, it drove me down the rabbit hole of a few different things, which is like, who is the authentic Jason Myles, right? And Jason Myles, this sounds so whack. I said in the third person. I am not the same around my kids that I am around you. I'm not going to be the same around a romantic partner that I am around you. That doesn't mean that I'm fake around them. It just means that, I'm not going to be the same around certain professional businesses acquaintances than I am around my friends, because I shouldn't be, right? There's a moment for everything. And I don't think that means you're code switching. I don't think it's code switching when I talk to my 6-year-old or even my 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm their dad. I'm not their homie.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk to them about some chick that I went out with last night. I shouldn't.
Right.
So that doesn't mean I'm not being authentic to my kids.
Right.
It just means that there's a way that you're going to be around your children. There's a way you're going to be around your wife. There's going to be a way you're around me.
Yeah.
And it's not always exactly the same. And so when we struggle with these things, I think the first thing people struggle with, especially for us colored folks, is, well, do we change it up around white people? And I always say, well, what is the circumstance in which you feel that you're changing it up? And it's usually a workplace thing. And it's like, well, if there was a bunch of black people there that you work with, if you worked at Johnson Publishing in 1985, you're going to act the same way? Hell no. You're going to act like you're a professional. When subordinates are around, you're going to act accordingly.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily see that as a code switching per se. I don't like that. And if we think it, because I hate that shit. Because I hate this idea that like you are living Du Bois's vision of the double consciousness. It's like, stop. Think about this. Would you say Michael Jackson's Thriller is like peak soul music or peak R&B or peak black music? Or do you think it's just, when you think of Michael Jackson, what do you think?
I love Michael. I think it was great. I don't know about peak, but I think his music was great. Absolutely. Powerful.
If you think about that record and someone said, okay, a bunch of white guys wrote it. One of the most soulful songs on that record is Lady in My Life. It's the last track on side 2. And it's written by a guy named Ted Templeton, who also wrote a very classic colored people anthem called Boogie Nights. He's a white British guy. Does that mean that music isn't black music anymore?
That's absurd if someone said that. Yeah.
But I mean, the whole thing is like these people. I got to talk to one of the guys that was one of the architects of what I hate the name yacht rock. I think it's more adult contemporary. But a lot of those guys, it was a heterogeneous mix of people from different class backgrounds, different ethnicities, but they came together to make kind of real, insane, experimental music that was actually marketed towards adults. And we don't see that anymore on the pop level, right? And in talking to them and trying to, and talking about these ideas about authenticity, my guest, who's a white guy from Chicago, he wrote songs for Smokey Robinson and George Benson. And he doesn't see himself as a white songwriter in black music. He's just a dude that plays the keys, that's a band director, and he works with the most badass cats around, and they're all going to look very different.
Yeah.
Right. And when I bring all this up to say, when we think about authenticity, and let's just use music, people love throwing like Rosetta Thorpe's name out there because she sang Hound Dog first. She didn't write it. 2 Jewish guys wrote it. And she didn't want to sing it the way it was recorded. She wanted to sing it a different way. They said, no, we don't want you to sing it that way. We want you to sing it more black. Same thing happened with Ronnie Spector when she was with Phil Spector. There were certain ways that she wanted to sing songs. And he was like, no. I want you to sing it with a little more umph, more black it up for me. She goes, well, I am black.
Yeah.
And this is the way I want to sing it.
That's right.
No. I want you to sing it in my way. So that should kind of make you question what is authentic in that regard. There's great black movies that we love that were not directed or written by black people, right? A Soldier Story comes to mind. The Color Purple. Do you see that as a Jewish movie? Right? Of course not.
Yeah.
But
a lot of black
to kind of get
black television as well.
Oh man, or it's dominated by people that might be black, but there's these ideas.
We lost Jason again. There he is.
Did I lose you?
Yeah, we lost you, but you're back again. What up?
Okay. But there's ideas around authenticity.
Yeah.
That I think we should question more about what we really think is authentic and maybe what's not. and
Yeah.
stop trying to act like we have to be one way all the time to be our authentic selves. Because there's a
Absolutely.
lot of different versions of Billy Bunton. And I
Yes.
think those versions are pretty authentic. I've seen you in a professional setting. I've hung out with you after that professional setting.
Yeah.
I don't think you were code switching in the
Yeah.
professional setting. We were freaking speaking to people.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I think you're
go ahead.
nailing it. I think the authenticity thing. I think some of the and I know I've got you a little bit over time, so you let me
That's
know when
fine.
you have to go.
I'm
But I
good.
think the
No, we're good.
I try to handle authenticity over 2 episodes, bro. So I've got over almost 2 hours of me just like talking to myself, and it has to do with an acceptance of an attempt at fullness, understanding that what our current self-conception is only a sliver of the fullness.
Yeah.
Whatever it is only a sliver. So attempt at fullness, and then an openness to change, an openness and willingness to allow it to evolve. So it's constantly like an acceptance, That's sort of the concept that I approach it at. But in terms of how it shows up in all kinds of ways, and we often mistake it because it clashes against the more rigid. So this is a fluid thing that we're talking about, yet it clashes against the rigid words and definitions and racial categories and gender categories and social categories. And so we are expecting to be able to go, but this is okay. Jason is black and he's black. And then you miss this whole this whole creative thing that actually is Jason. So, and also the beautiful parts of it and the messy parts of it and all of it and Billy and everyone. So, and then ourselves, but, and my
Well,
theory,
can I give you one more example
hit me.
before we go? Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Everybody loved that show.
Yeah.
It is the rocket ship that launches Will Smith into superstardom. But it's also kind of this thing that shows America what is going to be defined as authentic Black culture. And this is a moment where hip hop is going to start being authentic Black culture, and inner city life is authentically Black, right? So when you look at just the dichotomy between Will Smith's character and Alfonso Ribeiro, well, Carlton, everybody knows the poor guy's Carlton. Carlton's world is just as Black as Will's world. He's got 2 Black parents. He's even got a Black butler, so he should have a little understanding of class. Every dude his sister brings home is Black. Right? He apparently grew up with this Black cousin. If they felt so comfortable shipping him off halfway across the country, he knows who the hell this dude is. Now he's a stranger.
Yeah.
But he's treated as an outsider to Blackness for some reason. And Will Smith, who kind of is playing the role of minstrel during the whole show, becomes an avatar of authenticity. And this is kind of my problems with these ideas, especially of racial authenticity. When people say, I am unapologetically Black. I'm like, what does that mean? Does that mean that at some point in your life, you'll experience white prejudice? Because if that's all that you got, there's a lot of Black people that will never be called the N-word. There's a lot. I actually can say in a road rage situation, because I worked in the Gulf of Mexico, actually been called the N-word, right?
Okay.
I've actually worked with people in the Klan. And I don't say this like it's cool. It is not. It was uncomfortable. It was frightening. But if you're holding on to this idea that we're all, Ta-Nehisi Coates writes about this bullshit. He's a clown. There's the inner thug inside of all Black men. It's like, you don't want to you're afraid to deal with it. Yeah.
Is that a quote?
Yeah. That's not a quote, but I'm paraphrasing.
Okay.
Code of the Streets, I think, is what it's called. You can find it. But the problem is that you probably have more in common with your white counterparts because you're just American and you have an American understanding of the world. And that's the hard thing to wrap your head around, because you want to think that there's something that makes your experience different because of your culture. And it's like, well, we get loud in the barbershop. It's like, you think Italian people don't fucking talk shit in the barbershop?
Yeah.
You think only niggas got one asshole in the barbershop that thinks he knows everything sprouting off at the mouth? Like, I
Yeah.
got bad news for you if you think that's what it is. Like, you ever been in a white beauty shop full of white people? You think there's
Yeah.
not gossip and who fucked who conversations going on? That's just culture. Culture is there to be shared, right? That's what when I was talking about music, and we think about that record Thriller, which I think is an amazing album.
Yes.
The music that comes out of that era, the reason why I don't like the term yacht rock is because it means, for a lot of people, just the white guys that looked like divorced dads that made music in the 70s and 80s. And it cancels out all the black people that made the same exact music with the same exact players
Yeah.
during the same time. Patrice Rushen, Luther Vandross, Anita Baker, Jeffrey Osborne. There's a long list of black people that you can throw into that same quote unquote yacht rock category as well.
Yeah.
And if you meet the musicians from that era, they'll be like, oh yeah, I played on Michael's, and we played on Patrice Rushen was recording down the hallway. We played on her stuff. Because they were just trying to make dope music.
Yeah. Yeah.
And dope music it shouldn't be confined
Correct.
into racial categories. So
and racial categories, genres.
It's all marketing.
It's marketing, and it's the capacity to, for marketing, to be able to sell and distribute. It's helpful to do these category things, but just generally, there's a linguistics feature. If we can learn how to use language to help us for its explanatory value, and then sometimes drop language to help us actually experience and feel without contrast, without categorization. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's the space of authenticity that I'm interested in. It really lets me appreciate people for who they are, however they show up, without trying to
Because freedom,
quickly assess them and have an understanding. Think I know.
It's freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It's freedom, and freedom. There's a cost to freedom, but it's freedom. I get to do a show, and it's my show, and I'll do what I want to do.
Yeah.
There's a cost to that. There's a cost to that authenticity, right? I don't get to grow as large. I don't get to hit as big of an audience because I'd rather talk to a musician that I think is a legend, right? Because he's played on all these records. He's been the band leader for all these amazing people. And I think he has some knowledge. I think he has some stories that are interesting. Yeah. I think it makes for interesting programming. But if you see black leftist podcaster, you want me to kill Whitey. That's all you want me to do. You want me to kill Whitey. You want me to hate white people. You want me to say, Sam Cedar hates niggas. As long as he doesn't hate niggas. I've been in studio on that show. But that's what you want me to say.
Well, that's the quote now. So that's the title of this video now.
That's fine. Call it that. I'm sure Sam will get a kick out of it. But that's what people want.
Yeah.
And you have to ask yourself, why?
Who am I?
Why do I feel more comfortable with Coming to America, Eddie Murphy, than Boomerang, Eddie Murphy? What is it about that where I just maybe not?
I'll take.
They're not doing all the things.
I'll take both of those over Pluto Nash or what's the one with the big girl with the big girl? That movie was terrible.
Oh God, it's
Norbit.
Norbit.
That was terrible.
Yeah. I did not like Norbit.
What is he doing? Yeah.
Fat Suit Eddie Murphy is not my favorite Eddie Murphy, but there's
okay.
Fat Suit Eddie Murphy was kind of trying to be a return to what people want to see him be, which is a 21-year-old man. He's only 21 for that year, and then he had to age. And Eddie Murphy in his later 20s and early 30s, he's strictly making movies for a certain stratum of people, and them is Negroes. And I don't think that was his goal because he had so much success early on.
Big time.
And I don't think he was cooning either.
Yeah.
I think Eddie Murphy, again, there's for me, when I was a little kid, watching Eddie Murphy say there's a new sheriff in town in 48 hours was the most badass thing in cinema history, next to Blade movie. Walking in the blood rave. Those are the two most badass scenes from any actor, regardless of hue. Awesome. But there's a reason why all my friends that aren't black know Coming to America, and very few of them know Boomerang. You know, and it's the way that we, to your point, it's the way that we view these things, like race.
Yeah. Wow, we covered a lot of ground, man.
Sorry.
No. Sorry. We love that on the How Billy Sees the Show, man. We went all over the place. And I think it all ties in, frankly, and it all ties in back to kayfabe. Could you tell us quickly how to watch kayfabe?
Sure. It's on Means TV. And if you use the code This Is Revolution, all one word, you can receive 20% off a monthly or yearly subscription on Means TV. They also host pretty much all the big left creators. I'm honored that they thought I was cool enough to be on their channel. And it's not just kayfabe episode 1. It's also all of the other video essays I've done over the last few years. I pulled them off my channel. So the only place you can see them is on Means TV. There's some really great stuff on philanthrocapitalism, why our search for a hero is kind of a dead scene in the left in general. I do what I thought was a pretty deep dive on the 92 riots and what really caused them, and what can prevent us from having that ever happen again. So check it out. There's some interesting stuff on there.
Thank you, man. Yeah. I appreciate it. I appreciate this conversation. We're going to do it again. I'm going to let you go, and good luck on your show, brother. Thanks for doing it. Talk to you later.
Peace.
Yo, yes, that was Jason Myles of This Is Revolution. Thanks. He gave us a good hour and 10 minutes, and that was fun. That was a cool convo. Yeah, yo, episode 142. That's in the books. I'm excited for it. I'll see you next week on Monday. I'll be back for another episode. And keep rocking. I'm gonna let you out with my song.
For me,
don't cry for me, y'all.
I keep thinking it.
That's just how I see it. And remember, yo, it's all one thing. You see things, you see what you're looking for. It's all one thing. All right.
Please
take it easy.
For me.
Peace.
I keep thinking it over.
Perfect.
Okay, now I'm convinced. I thought it over. We live in equal and opposites. Knowledge not even 5%. My job is not buddy-buddy with these imposter simps. The team rise when the stakes is high. Lots of chips. I try to think like even my vices show me insight. I move in spite the dark. All I see is a dim light. Pimpin' playing with pinstripes. Bitches dissing women for click likes. When I rip the head off a fucking clown, it's a grim sight. Do not attempt to float with me, pussy. I sprint heights. Pay no mind to the men by the curtains. Just sit tight. And in spite of the people hating the fucking games you be playing, I make it happen, achieve the impossible on a good night. So why is it all like this? Got me fighting my own likeness. They lying, the whole world is in crisis. Pray to make it through another night with myself. Genuine peace of mind is priceless. Yeah. Don't cry for me. No. Please don't cry for me. I'm just thinking it over, just thinking it. I'm just thinking it over, just thinking it. Don't cry for me. No, please don't cry for me. Just thinking it over, just thinking it. Just thinking it over, just thinking it.